Boarding members present and absent.
Kane.
Here.
McDermott.
Here.
Parker.
Here.
Slater. Here.
Okay. Open meeting compliance statement.
I, the undersigned clerk of the Board of Education of the Alva Independent School District, number 1, Woods County, Oklahoma, certify that prior to December 15th of the last calendar year, the date, time, and place of this regular meeting was filed in the office of the County Clerk of Woods County, Oklahoma. I also certify that at least 24 hours prior to this meeting, excluding Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays, notice of the date, time, place, and agenda of this meeting was posted in prominent public view at the office of the superintendent.
Consent agenda. All of the following items which concern reports and items of a routine nature normally approved by one board vote, unless the board members desire to have a separate vote on any or all of these items. The consent agenda consists of the discussion, consideration, and approval of the following. 3.1, addition of items of new business to the agenda.
There are none.
Minutes of the September 6th, 2022 regular meeting and September 26th, 2022 special meeting. Approval of the finance report, approval of the activity fund report, approval of the activity fund fundraisers, approval of the activity fund inter-account transfers, approval of the child nutrition report, and to declare the following items surplus.
Okay, we'll begin with agenda item 3.2, our minutes of our September 6th and September 26th special meeting. Seeing errors to those minutes. Agenda item 3.3, the bottom attachment will be our investments for the month of September. The top attachment is our chargeables through the month of September. So if you can open that up, you can see that again we are over collecting, or have collected well over what we did last year in our gross production. We are behind in motor vehicle and ahead in our bottom 3 REA tax, school land earnings, and county formula. If you will look at the second page of that attachment, you can see the comparison to FY23 to FY22. And then if you look at the third page, you can see those numbers in a chart. So we have a revenue increase from FY23 to 22 of $173,698. We have spent $324,219 more than last year. Agenda item 3.4, our activity fund accounts. Thank Ms. Durkee again for her diligent work with our activity funds. If you will open the top attachment, you can see the monthly activity. You will notice that there is an increase in our ag activity account. Blue and gold sausage sales have been happening over the course of this last month. The bottom attachment is through FY23 of our activity accounts, and all those are in good state. Agenda item 3.5, our activity fund fundraisers. There are none this month. Agenda item 3.6, AHS Cheer has an inter-account transfer for the purchase of Pink Week t-shirts. And so you can see the amount of $435 that they will transfer from their account to AHS Stuco for their Pink Week shirts. Agenda item 3.7. You will open up that attachment. A comparison of the last 3 years of our meals served. You see lunch and breakfast are both up. Breakfast is down from last year. Lunch is up. We don't know how to attribute a lot of that. Can tell you at the high school and middle school, they can order ahead on their lunches now. I have heard nothing but really positive things about that. Students have anywhere from 3 to 4 choices that they can order ahead on that is different from the actual menu served. So students really seem to be enjoying that, being able to make those kinds of choices. So that could be part of the reason that we see an increase in lunches. And then agenda item 3.8, there are no items to surplus. If there are no questions, I would recommend approval of the consent agenda.
motion we accept 3.1 through 3.8 as presented.
Second. Parker,
Yes.
McDermott,
Yes.
Kane,
Yes.
Slater. Yes.
Vote to approve purchase order encumbrances for the following funds for fiscal year '23. 4.1 general fund as referenced, 4.2 building fund as referenced, 4.3 child nutrition fund as referenced.
Okay, if you'll open up the top attachment for agenda item 4.1, general fund for the month of September, run through a couple of these purchase orders. Purchase order number 264, Follett School Solutions, 1,012 Lincoln Library Books. Purchase order number 273 with R&T Diesel was our inspections for our route buses, 2,915.39 cents. Purchase orders number 275 and 276, math calculators for our math classes, 1,066 and 1,012. Purchase order number 280, ABC Bus Company out of Dallas. That is the replacement of a transmission on Coach Activity Bus 7 for $14,000. Purchase order number 284, DT Spraying and Lawn Care. That is all the mowing and maintenance for our football field and the hills. And then purchase order number 288, 1,825. Those are graphics for Big Slick graphics for office door, office, and indoor facility. The second attachment, general fund payroll. Those are substitutes and a couple of our paraprofessional hires. Agenda item 4.2. If you'll open up the attachment for the building fund. A couple of those purchase order number 29, McGregor Dog Mechanical for $2,750. That is to repair the exhaust fan, AMS Gym. Purchase order number 30, Access Elevator. That is to repair the office elevator and the lift that goes from the cafeteria down to the auditorium. And that was $1,493.54. And then finally, purchase order number 31, Jenkins and Price, $2,626.94. Those are cleaning supplies for the district. Agenda item 4.3, our child nutrition fund. We have one purchase order out of that. It is repairs to AMS Cafeteria from Northwest Electric for $125. If there are no questions, I would recommend approval of agenda item 4.1, 4.2, and 4.3.
So moved.
Second.
Kane,
Yes.
McDermott,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Slater. Yes.
Superintendent's report.
Okay, we'll begin first with a resignation. You can see the attachment there from Angela Lake. She has resigned her position as pre-K aide. Agenda item 5.2, some communication that I have for y'all this evening. Want to give the board notification that we have received a donation from the Quinn Trust to the Goldbug Education Foundation. That trust, Dr. Quinn was an avid supporter of our golf team and has done many things for our student athletes on the golf team throughout the year. The Quinn Trust will be making a distribution this year to our Goldbug Foundation that we will use to support the golf team, also support some scholarships. And so we'll bring some more information to you as we continue to work our way through that process with the trust. I also want to mention that we've been working with our adjuster on some roofing repair and replacement. We've received approximately $383,000 for some repair and replacement of roofs throughout the district. There's still a few things that we need to look at to ensure date of roofs and ensure that we receive the right claim. The goal is to bring back to the board in the month of November contracts so that we can begin bidding those jobs out and repair and replace the roofs. Want to recognize the high school also. We received Friday, I believe it was, last week, a news release from the State Department of Education that Alva High School received the College Success Award from greatschools.org. And so I want to recognize them for their preparedness that they provided for kids. That award is retroactive from last year. Went back and did some research on it. We've received that twice. And so I'm very proud of the teachers
You getting money?
and the work that
You
they've
getting
done.
money or just a?
No money.
Oh, darn it, okay.
I wish we were.
I know, well, that's okay,
Great idea.
I appreciate that too, but.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I'll suggest that too.
That's always a thing.
I want to talk to you a little bit about the cafeteria renovation, and so provide you with a little bit of an update.
Thank you.
And so this update is the original plans to cafeteria renovation. And this one that I'll be handing you are the revised. And so what I want to point out to you, when we started this process with Triarch, we really used the input that we received from our students. And our students have a really good taste in renovation and design. And our budget, what we felt like we wanted to set at the time, couldn't be met with some of the designs that our students had. And it doesn't mean that we're not going to do those. It's just prioritizing some of those extras that our students wanted. And so one of the things that Kyler Construction and Triarch came to me and they said there's too many alternates. So if you'll notice on the very front page of each one of those designs, if you'll notice, you can tell the revision is different from the older one because of the alternate list. You can see there's a reduced amount of alternates. Y'all see where that is?
Yes, I do.
And that's on the very front page. So the original has a list of alternates, and then you look at the revision that they've just sent us, and it's a much smaller list. And so the reason for that, the reason they wanted to combine some of those things is it's hard to get companies to bid on so many alternates. If they think you're going to cut 7 or 8 parts of that project out, they're not even going to bid it. And so I want to read through you here some of the combinations that we've made. So on the cafeteria revisions, alternates number 1 and 2, furniture, tables, chairs, some casework that they were going to put the point of sale equipment in, that's all been removed. And so the furniture and those kind of things we can go back and purchase those things ourselves also at a later date. Number 4 and 5, the 3D elements, some of the countertops that were along the wall, those have been removed. Number 6, you can see that alternate. It had an alternate ceiling tile, and it gives some different paint schemes to it. So there is going to be new ceiling tile and grid, and they're still going to do the paint scheme. The alternate is the lighting to that, okay? And then number 7, which was to be able to the existing steel columns and to retrofit those and make those, they felt like that needed to be done. That should stay a part of the project and really shouldn't be an alternate anyway. So any questions that you might have that, and obviously this is still a work in progress. Kyler came up today just to kind of take a look at the cafeteria again. If you have questions as you review these or would like me to reach out to Kyler, let me know. Just a reminder, one of the reasons for our renovation also, we have $145,000 approximately that we have to spend from federal reimbursement So every school district across the state received money for all the free lunches last year. And every student that ate was reimbursed. The State Department is now requiring you spend that money by the end of the fiscal year, which is June 30th. So we anticipate beginning this project sometime during the school year, which will result in potentially some alternate feeding location here at the high school. We've kind of talked about that a little bit. There are some alternate things we can do, still use the kitchen and almost do a grab and go at some other location if renovation does in fact get underway.
When you originally met, you met with a group of students?
Yes.
You created a task force.
Yes.
Have you had an opportunity to share with them some of the revisions?
I've not shared any
yet?
revisions with them.
And I mean,
no.
some of those kids may have graduated, I mean, if they were part of this last year, but I didn't know.
No, haven't had a chance to visit with them about any of the revisions, plan to do so, and they are all still students.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Oh, good. Well, it'll be a wonderful economic lesson.
Yes, it will be. And they knew that. They're great kids, and they knew when I told them to dream big. So we knew this could be
Sure.
part of the process.
Well, if you're gonna dream, let's dream big,
Yeah.
and then when they come in, it's kind of like, you know, it's
So
a
these-
vacation, and we'll cut back.
I thought these seating areas were so nice in there. Kind of on one side, are those still there?
Which one are you?
Well, I thought those, because these are the color pictures were very vivid as to, it seemed like there was a lot of color, a lot of black and gold throughout it. I personally don't see that in here anymore.
I will check, but it appears that looking at the alternate list, that those were removed. But I will check.
It kind of doubled looking into kind of a student lounge look with that side and a lot of computer, those countertops were like to hook up your computer, maybe set it on the side to do some work during in a perfect world. I'd like to know, I'd like to see what it would cost to add some of that.
Okay.
If that is our plan, though.
I mean, it's one of those things that some of these things, especially the furniture and countertops, those are things you can go back and do at a later date.
Oh, yeah.
So,
And
Right.
that ceiling was very graphic, if I remember right,
Yes.
wasn't it?
I guess it depends on how much reconstruction there has to be. I mean, you know, if they don't have to do a whole lot of that, you can always go back in and add, but if you're already gonna tear out, and heaven forbid, we tear down a wall, out of the cafeteria, I don't mean that, but I mean, you know, that would be the time to add that stuff, if, you know, then they come back and go, why didn't you tell us that, well, we had the wall back here.
any other questions on cafeteria?
It's exciting.
Okay, paving project, just want to mention to you, we've talked about our paving projects with the expansion of the Snake Drive and the north parking lot. There's been, we've had some suggestions and maybe some opportunities to move in a little bit different direction, so we've slowed the progress of that. And that kind of leads me into the 5.3 agenda item strategic plan. We met last week with stakeholders to go over a strategic plan, and so want to turn it over to Allison, and she will share that presentation.
Okay. The resources goal area, there's two main objectives, one being improve facilities, the other to align school finances to the strategic plan. And so Mr. Argo and I have been working with the committee on the part to improve the facilities. We met with these committee members, there's about 51-ish of them, several times last year, and we also provided opportunity to tour all of our campuses, all the principals, and met with those who wanted to tour, show them some of the concerns they have in their building, as well as answer some questions that the community members had. And then we met again to discuss what we saw, and then we to do a survey, which I'll get to here in just a minute. So the goals of this committee is to define adequate parking, create an in-depth facilities plan, and to prioritize it by site and district, and to develop the timeline for completion and paving projects at the high school and superintendent's office. And then, of course, we have our performance measures in our strategic plan on how are we going to know we're doing what the committee originally set forth, having a formal work order system, which we are using currently. Principals put in a work order if we have something within our building that needs to be, whether it be AC or anything, really. That way we have a specific place. I kind of joked with the committee, but not really joked, that, sticky notes are great. I have them everywhere, but we really need something more formal than a sticky note to remind us what we need to do and when it was done. And so this seems to be working well. Also, we used the building assessment tool several years ago. Each principal had a small committee within their buildings where we took the building assessment tool from the OSSBA, and we went through that to make sure. We looked at air conditioning units, how old they were. We looked at windows, additions, and all those things, and we put it in this assessment tool. So that one is completed. Also, to define adequate parking, and to have adequate parking at all of our sites. To determine what the average square foot per student should be, and a minimum of 3 public venues we want to update or renovate. Prior to COVID, a smaller portion of this committee, the original committee, were these members up here, and they met with Mr. Argo back in May of 2019 to kind of initially talk about their top priorities. And this is what they came up with: AC in the gym, track and field, and parking at the high school, the ag farm, softball field concession improvements, and circle driver parking at AMS. And then there was further suggestions were AC in the auditorium, refurbishing the concession and restroom at the softball, baseball fields, lights at baseball, softball fields, and the fine arts building. In addition, they talked about the track, tiering maybe the sides of the hill to help with drainage. They looked at alternate locations, the armory where they couldn't fit a track, the rec park, but they had concerns of transportation and access for students, and as well as being really windy and not much windbreak there. The softball suggestions came from coaches, a press box, a fence to separate the parking gate on both fields, sides of the fields, and whether or not they can move the home plate back. Up to currently, these are the facility improvements that have taken place: the art room, the auditorium lighting, the HVAC in the gym. That's a current thing that we're working on now. The high school lift to the basement, high school door locks, which you walk through the building, you know that they're wrapping that up right now. A new chiller at the high school. The school safe ID we've done district-wide. That got done right before school started, where all of our parents and visitors must check in through the safe ID with their driver's license. And I kind of thought maybe we'd get a little bit of grumbling from parents. We're not. When they have to go back to their car to get their driver's license, they're all very kind about it. They understand that it's for safety purposes. So I personally haven't gotten any pushback from our family or for community, which is really nice, because I thought maybe we would. But they all know it's for the safety of kids, and they're all very willing to do that for our children. The painting of the high school track, vape detectors at the high school and middle school, drainage at the high school office, walkways to the portable at Washington, and fire alarm system at the middle school needed to be updated. And Mr. Argo just talked about some of these. The cafeteria renovations are planned in the future. We're looking at what that paving project's going to look like now. A lot of things have changed since we first looked at this. COVID has pushed back things, but also give us an opportunity to look to see if that's really what was the best thing for us. And things have changed, so we're reassessing that. And also our roofs throughout the district definitely need some repair, and insurance has been thankfully helping us with some of that. And this was, this came from that first meeting, I believe, back in May of 2019, and they phased out, made different phases of what their goals were. Again, the paving projects, we're reassessing and making sure that's still consistent with what we need for our buildings on this one, especially for the high school. We discussed this, and we have, we provided our committee with, oops, I skipped one. We provided our committee with a survey and to kind of take another look at this and whether or not, and ask them some questions specific to the paving project. And at that previous one, you saw the finances come through and federal programs like ESSER, our building fund and general fund as well. So this is the current data right now, and I know it's kind of small, but we're still pulling from this. As of this morning, we had 24 committee members take the survey. We just had our meeting just last week, and so half of them have already taken the survey. And specifically, this question asked different areas of high school improvements, roof repair, track and field, the track and field area. There's a leak between where two buildings come together by the auditorium. Storage in the women's locker room, to renovate the lobby at the auditorium, ADA accessibility, to the vocal room, ag farm, softball, baseball field, or lights, I believe, and a new activity bus. So this was more specific to the high school, and we asked them to prioritize it. I believe it's 1 through 8 on this one. And so that just shows kind of where we're currently at with priorities. This is middle school improvements. Again, roof repair, additional parking, Circle Drive, rerouting water from the gym foyer, enlarged downspouts. And this is currently where it's sitting with how they ranked it priority-wise. And then Lincoln Elementary, roof repair, the library floor slopes, foundation east of the library wall, drainage, resurfaced gym floor, and the patio foundation. As you can see, a lot of those were really structural things. Longfellow, roof repair, single pane window replacement, playground border, fence repair or replacement, AC in the music counseling room, or interior door replacement. And then Washington, roof repair, drainage in Quinton's Corner, interior door replacement, and additional parking on the east side of the playground. And so, and then I have, which wouldn't fit on here, we then have them take all of those areas, and I believe we have them prioritize into the top 6 of everything in the district, so that we can see, what it looks like for just 6 in the district, where's the top priorities. And so we're still working on putting that data together. We're going to also send it out to the district, and we have additional questions on here, asking questions about the snake, whether or not what we had proposed originally is still sufficient, or if we need to do something like a Circle Drive, if we would move the principal's office back on top like it had been in previous years. So we need additional information on then what would we do with where the principal's office is now, what would we do with that area, and we asked that in the survey. I'm trying to think what else we asked.
Yeah, so Ms. Tucker did a really good job of getting this survey together and facilitating the meeting. I just might point out, she mentioned it, we're going to be sending that out to all staff, and so we're going to get the input from the staff. And you might ask, well, where did you come up with your projects? Well, that was done through some staff input, community input, about last spring, after they toured the buildings. And so that's kind of where those ideas of those projects came from those conversations. Y'all have any questions?
I have a lot of questions. But I think it's only fair that we probably do this another time, really. I'd like that in hard copy, so we could see it and study it a little bit, especially some of the survey items. Now, I didn't get to attend the meeting. Mrs. Kane,
I
did
did.
you?
I did.
Have you taken the survey?
I have.
Okay, now I've not gotten a copy of it. So those that were not there, are you going to email something to them?
Yeah, I emailed to everyone who was on that original committee list, should have gotten one, so I can.
Okay, you might check. I don't
I will
believe-
double check.
I might have, but I don't think I did. the lists from each site are interesting to me, and I'd like to see those. And I know you've got them in things, but the tours, did any of you go on the tours?
I was not able to.
Okay. Okay, so we haven't been on the tours, none of us. So I don't know that we need to go on the tours, but I think we need the results of all of that. I think we need to see that, this district does as well. Just so we have now I may just be speaking for myself, so if you guys don't want it, that's fine, but
So when we meet on October 20th,
uh-huh,
we're gonna compile
okay,
all of this survey information, and we'll present that to the committee, and then at our November board meeting, we'll bring all that information and present that to you all.
I think it's great for you to present it to us, but presenting it to me like that,
Yeah, we'll make a hard
Sure.
copy
I
and hand
can't,
it to you.
I mean,
You
It's
study
too
it.
hard to see.
I took some pictures, but I have nothing to take
Right.
to
It
review.
won't make sense.
I can't remember it all. So I think we need a formal presentation of some sort on every time they present. I'd like something that I can take home and peruse and look at a little bit, so if I can
We can
understand it a
intelligently
little better.
answer our
I
patrons'
love
questions
love-
when they come to
yeah.
us.
The reports are wonderful. you're
And I would
doing-
encourage if patrons are coming or ask you questions, have them come down.
Sure.
And we would be happy to meet. I would be happy to set up a time to sit with them and talk to them about any of our presentations and even run through that with them. And
Yeah, I don't have any desire to answer the questions, but I do have a desire to understand it.
Mhm.
And so for those reasons, I think if we just see it, I just think it'd help. As I was taking notes, I was thinking of things I don't know
Sure.
as to what you're saying here, so, and it's my fault I didn't get to the meeting, so that's not your fault, that's my fault.
But I will say, and you correct me if I'm wrong, the meeting was last Wednesday, so I've lost
I
track.
think it was it was Tuesday. It
Okay,
was
and then you
Tuesday.
sent you sent the survey out, boy, that afternoon or the next day?
That afternoon.
I didn't do it, so I got reminded yesterday, which is great, but I appreciate that, because it just,
I sent that
she's
did
been
you-
very
Yeah.
diligent on saying, okay, and I had time yesterday afternoon to
Good.
take it, so, so thank you for that, because we all go, yeah, I'll get back to it.
This is really good.
And we're all busy, it's great information, and I really appreciate it. It was, boy, that last question was tough. Out of everything, pick 6, oh my.
No,
Oh,
it's
boy.
real, I don't want to come across as it not being
That's-
No, not at all.
That's budgetary.
I just think it's
No, it's a
funny
great
how
point.
it's changed
Yes.
some. That surprised me a little bit.
Definitely.
And, where, if we're gonna get started on it, and we've already done a lot.
We
Yes,
have.
absolutely. We've done quite a bit.
But, as anything, we always have more to do. don't we? Thank you, I appreciate
Well,
that.
I do think that our patrons need to know what's been done. I mean, unless you see it, they don't know what's been done. And that's a quite impressive little list there of things that has been accomplished during and after COVID. A lot of things came to a stop.
Thank you, Mrs. Tucker, for your presentation. That was very, very good. One thing I need to, before we move on to another agenda item, I skipped over this, and I want to be able to go over this with you. As you know, from COVID, our 2020 census resulted in school districts across the state having to go through and potentially redraw the boundaries for their districts. And so you can see that you have an older board districting map, and then your other one is the newest map. And so the House of Representatives for State of Oklahoma offered each school district the opportunity to meet one-on-one with one of their representatives to help the school districts redraw their boundaries. And the key component for redrawing those is you can't have a variance of more than 10% between any one boundary. Your greatest and your smallest. And so what you'll notice is that we had to expand some of the boundary for Mrs. Slater's district. And then also, if you look at the bottom part of the newer one, you can see that we had to expand the boundary a little bit with Coach Parker's. bring that boundary closer to 64. Okay? You will, well, take a look at that, and let me just give you a minute to look at it, and let me know if you have.
On the bottom part of the newest map,
Yes.
Mr. Argo,
Uh-huh.
this is divided into the different wards. So
Correct.
Ward 1 is purple.
Mhm.
2, I guess, is at the top of the page in that lighter blue. 3 is to the right in that teal. Are you following me?
Yes.
Right, correct. 4 is that all yellow part.
Yes.
And Ward 5 would be the blue, right above yellow. Okay? Okay, thank you. I want to make sure I'm looking at it correctly.
Yes.
And the bottom has a population within those districts that's drawn on the newest map.
Correct.
Okay.
And you can see, so if you look at that newest one, you can see how our populations, that was, the House of Representatives has a tool where they are able, from the census, they can grab different mile sections, and then are able to equal out those
Okay.
populations. And so you can see there how we've equaled out the populations for each ward at the
Okay.
bottom of that sheet. You see that? So what we'll do is we will post this on our website so that everyone is aware of those changes and can see what the ward is and see what ward they live in. And then we will have our election resolution next month. Correct, Ms.? Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Okay. That is all I have.
And that you had to go to the city and work through all this.
Yes,
with the
each
flash,
each superintendent that has boards into boundaries use the House of Representatives to help them. They did a great job and very helpful. And we have these maps down at the office. We have some larger ones that are color-coded if folks would like to come in and look at
Okay.
those.
Did you take them to the election board?
No, we don't yet until we do
Yeah,
the
we
resolution.
approve.
Yeah. Okay, any other
Okay.
questions?
Thank you.
That's great. Not very much difference, really.
No. Shift just a little bit.
Okay, are we ready for number 6? Is that where we are?
Yes.
6.1, discussion with possible board action, vote to approve an offer of employment to applicant number 1 and applicant number 2, non-certified positions for the 22-23 school year.
Okay, we have offered employment to Amy Graybill and Jesse Gilchrist as paraprofessionals at Longfellow Elementary, and I would recommend approval of these applicants.
So moved.
Second.
Slater, yes. Parker,
Yes.
McDermott,
Yes.
Kane.
Yes.
Did we move up redistricting?
What's that?
Did we move up the redistricting here? Or we just vote on it down here? Okay, never mind. 6.2, discussion with possible board action, vote to approve the revised extra duty schedule for FY '23.
You're right, yeah.
I was
Somebody
trying to-
should have, nobody should.
Well, I was trying to
We were
find
so
it.
excited
and
I thought I was
Pages.
communicating that. Anyway,
Yeah.
okay, let me try to stay focused now.
Okay, we're just ready
Where are
now
we at?
for the
6.2?
extra duty
6.2.
salary.
Okay, extra duty salary schedule. We have one addition to the extra duty salary schedule. We have Megan Spray. She will be the assistant middle school girls basketball coach for FY '23. I would recommend approval of this revised extra duty salary schedule.
I make a motion that we approve 6.2.
Second. Sorry. Go.
Second.
Slater, yes. Parker,
Yes.
McDermott,
Yes.
Kane.
Yes.
6.3, discussion with possible board action, vote to approve the Alva School District budget for fiscal year '23.
Okay, you all have budget book. At the table there with you, and so I want to run through a couple of things with you. I have pulled up the attachment that is with this agenda item, and I'll point out to you in just a minute why that is what is approved by the board. So if you look at pages, or just briefly look at pages 2 through 3, those are just informational items, table of contents regarding the budget book. If you will look at page number 4, the administrative projections. If you look at number 3, the district valuation has decreased from a high in FY17 of approximately 157 million to present day 139 million. So you can see that we've had a decrease in our valuation from FY17, but it has increased in the previous year 6%. And so talking to Ms. Benson at the assessor's office, we've received a higher valuation with the wind farm in the southern part of the county. An electrical company, its valuation is higher, and some oil and gas companies' valuation has increased. I provide some other notes about our relief fund on item number 4. ESSER money, 1, 2, and 3, American Rescue Plan money, all those monies were great for our school districts. They are no longer going to be available, and so it's important to be mindful of that fiscal cliff when it happens, and so we continue to watch that. If you look at number 5, my other point there, our local gross production has seen an increase over the last year, but that is a volatile market, as we've all seen, but appears to be a good sign economically. If you look at the next paragraph, I have our initial allocation of state aid, $1,076,756,059 compared to last year's allocation of $997,234. We've seen an increase in our state aid allocation. That allocation will be adjusted periodically throughout the year. It will probably be adjusted after our October 1 accounts throughout the state, and many times there might be 3 or 4 adjustments prior to the midterm, which is in January. Our initial projections show that we will collect $9,976,512,000 because that does not include our fund balance. So when you look at new revenue, you can't add our over $5 million fund balance, okay? And so that's important as we'll look through some of these spreadsheets in just a minute. For 22-23, our actual working budget is $15,567,122. That is below the estimate of needs provided by Carroll and Associates. It's not that their estimate of needs is not correct, but I'm budgeting more conservatively than what they did. Okay, if you'll turn the page to 5. If you look at the first full paragraph where it talks about the general fund estimates, I'm projecting $11,356,333 for expenses this year. This is about $1.3 million over what we were spending last year, which is a pretty significant increase. We can see the increase for supply issues, inflationary costs are part of that. If our budget holds true to what it should be, our carryover is anticipated to roll back to $4.2 million approximately, which is a decrease of 24%. If you look at our carryover last year, we carried over $5.5 million, and that was not the anticipated carryover. We anticipated that our carryover would be reduced about $1.2 million, so it would go in the $4 million range, and we saw the economy improve. So we hope that continues, but we certainly can't base our budget on that. Policy CDA, approved by the Board of Education, requires that our fund balance be no less than 10% of our annual budget. And so when we talk about our annual budget, we use the estimate of needs when we want to apply this policy because it's the higher number. So our estimate of needs, 10% of that is 1.6 million. And so we are above our required fund balance. If you look at the next paragraph, our child nutrition fund continues to be very strong. Our auditor estimates we collect $835,914.79. Our projected expenses are $650,895.98. We project a $210,826.56 carryover for our child nutrition fund. And this, you'll see in a minute, this includes those renovations and any improvements that we plan to make. If you look at the building fund, it also continues to be in good financial standing. We have a fund balance to date of $3.778 million. Our auditor estimates that we're going to collect $658,996.76 in ad valorem taxes. There may be other sources of revenue, but ad valorem is our major area of collection. We're estimating that our expenditures increase in this fund to a little over $1.2 million. We increase these expenditures because we're looking at HVAC renovations in our gymnasiums and also paving projects potentially. With those all in mind, we still project to have a $2.6 million carryover. And our gift fund, you can see, has $70,327.65 in it this year. Page 6 is just enrollment historical information. You can see that our enrollment continues to increase. And then page 7, our weighted daily membership, which is part of our state aid. We have not received FY23 weighted membership, and we won't until we finish our October 1 number counts. On page 9, our system of classifying revenue and expenditures. So this is what, as a board, you all will look at those function numbers, and that is what is required that you approve. So on pages 9 through 14, 15, 9 through 15, those are all examples of the function codes that are used that we appropriate our estimate of needs. And so on each one of those, I've gone through and given some examples of how we spend that money. For example, function 2140, psychological education, individual services. We've appropriated in there $40,000. This is when you see our stepping stones or anytime we do any psychological-based services through our special ed, that money comes out of that function. So on page 16, those are the appropriations by function, and this is what the board approves. This is why this is the attached agenda item. You can see that we have those functions there through local, state, and federal.
Mr. Argo, will we spend all of our URSA money, all that $956,000?
Yes, we will. The ESSER 3 money will all be encumbered and anticipate expending that before FY23.
Like basically the gym and
HVAC renovation, and then
some other things.
if you go back, and should have pointed this out as Ms. Tucker presented, but if you go back and look at this, and I can get you all a copy of this,
That's okay.
you see in parentheses,
Mm-hmm.
these are how those funds, those ESSER funds, went through, and all of our ESSER funds that had to do with facility improvements, we marked those. Now, other ESSER funds were used maybe for professional development, think pads, for staff to be remote learning. So some of those things that weren't necessarily facility improvements weren't used for this, but I would say that was probably the majority. Okay, on page 20 of your budget book, so this is a monthly revenue projection and comparison, and I brought this to the board before. We'll bring this to you next month for you to look at. You look at column C. Column C is the total revenue collected for 21-22. Column D is the possible revenue. Column E is our year-to-date revenue, what we collect, and then column F, that is the estimate of needs by Carroll's. Column G is the difference between our possible revenue and what we collected in the prior year. Those next two columns that are unlabeled but have percentages, those are just what I use really for me to know where we're at with our estimate of needs, what percentage have we collected. And then the other column is what have we collected comparatively to the previous year. And so I want to point out to you a couple of things. First, if you look at 1010, current year ad valorem, if you look across that page, you can see that in column F, Carroll's is estimating that we will collect a little over $4.6 million. I have only done 90% of our previous year collection, so I am projecting a little over 3.9. You can then see in column E, we've not collected any ad valorem, and we won't until December, January, February. Okay? If you will turn the page and look at page 21, the columns are still the same. I want to point out to you gross production. You can see that Carroll's and I have a little bit of disparity there, but we've already collected 40% of the estimate of needs. You'll notice that motor vehicle, I'm projecting a little more than half. He's at $444,118.84, and I'm at $296,79.23. So a little more conservative than what we are there. Also point out to you 3210 foundation salary incentive. That object code is state aid. And you can see that I am below the estimate of needs. We know, I guess we never know, but we're pretty certain our state aid will stay the same, and we will receive that $1,076,756,000. But you can see my projection is a little more conservative and lower in the event that we did receive some kind of reduction. Page 22 are state categorical funds and also federal programs that we receive. And then page 23, you can see if you look at the bottom, you have the totals. So if you look at our total from last year, we collected a little over $15 million. I'm projecting that we have just a slight increase in our revenue. To date, we've collected $6.9 million, a little over, and our estimate of needs is $16,838,462. We currently collected 42% of our estimate of needs, which is all very positive and very good signs, but as we all know, things can change very quickly. Our expenditure projections, so really the same thing that goes along with our revenue projections. It really works the same. We go through and you can see the different columns across the top on a monthly basis. I comparatively look at those from year to year and may have to adjust expenditures this year as we continue to see higher costs in electricity, gas, and fuel. If you look again on page 27, you can see the totals there. can see that we are projecting an increase in payroll and our total expenditures. If you look at page 28, done the same thing with our building fund, number 21. It gives the approved appropriations from Carroll and Associates. These are all of the functions and how that money is appropriated. And then page 29 is what the required approval of the Board of Education is. Page 30 is again an example of the spreadsheet that I work on monthly. We've projected the revenue, as you can see, mine $564,870 is a more conservative projection than what Carroll's and Associates has projected at $658,996. If you look on page 31, I want to point out to you that on object code 710 and 450, you can see that I've estimated very large expenditures in those columns, $616,369 and then $300,000. That is anticipated if we were to do any of those projects. Wanted to still kind of have an idea of where we would be at for a fund balance at the end of the year. And that's where that fund balance number was given to you. It comes from that higher projection. Might also add that on our general fund, I also added money in there for potential purchases of automobiles for $500,000. That's a very large number. It doesn't mean we're going to spend it, but in the event that we did, wanted that to be a part of the projection so that we would have an idea if that expense did occur, what our fund balance would be. Our child nutrition fund on page 32. Fund number 22, again, these are by function, and then you can see on 33, state and federal programs. And then on page 34, these are the appropriations that are required to be approved by the board. And then page 35 through 37, I won't go through that again, but that is the same thing with the previous spreadsheets on a monthly basis. Do this with the child nutrition funds. Page 38, that is the gift fund appropriations that are required approval by the Board of Education. And then page 39 is really just historical information to look at how our valuation has changed from FY10 to FY23. Any questions? I want to thank Ms. Owen for her diligence and her work. Alva Public Schools could not do it without her. She does a fantastic job getting these appropriations where they need to be. And so you can look at this attachment and you can see the work that she does with all of that. And does some great proofreading also.
Thank you.
Yes, very much.
There'll be a copy of this budget book for anyone that would like to come and look at it and peruse it. We'll keep these down at central office.
We have one, but, that's good.
If there are no questions, I would recommend approval of the Alva School District budget for FY23.
And again, I appreciate you going through all the detail. Makes it very easy for us to
I
understand.
agree.
And,
Thank you.
that's not easy. It takes a lot of time.
I make a motion we approve 6.3.
Second. Kane,
Yes.
McDermott,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Slater. Yes.
Thank you, all of you, both of you. 6.4, discussion with possible board action, vote to approve the Alva School District redistricting resolution. we give them a motion a minute ago?
No, so,
Okay, I didn't
yeah,
think.
this
we
is
did.
eerily familiar because I jumped the gun. So
No,
if
we needed some preliminary.
if you
Most so can.
don't have any questions, I would recommend approval of our redistricting resolution for the Alva Board of Education.
I make a motion that we approve the Alva School District redistricting resolution as presented.
Second. Slater? Yes. Parker?
Yes.
McDermott?
Yes.
Kane?
Yes.
Okay. 6.5, discussion with possible board action, vote to approve a resolution to the Oklahoma State Department of Education of the Alva School District intent to use hours rather than days for the 2022-23 school year.
If you open that attachment, we will submit this letter to accreditation that certifies that we have 1080 hours. Also, another part of this law, Senate Bill 441 requires schools to have a minimum of 165 days. And so we meet both of those requirements. This has been good for Alva Public Schools, not only in the event of COVID, but also in the event of any snow days. And so I would recommend approval of our intent to use hours rather than days.
So moved.
Second.
Parker?
Yes.
McDermott?
Yes.
Kane?
Yes.
Slater? Yes.
6.6, discussion with possible board action, vote to approve the Alva School District Gifted Educational Plan for the 22-23 school year.
Okay, I want to thank Ms. Martini and her committee. They met on September 15th to go over policy EHBB, which is our Gifted and Talented Plan. The Gifted and Talented Plan is available on the school website. We have recommendation forms that can be found on the school website. We encourage parents and teachers to use those recommendation forms to help us in identifying students. We had 19 students that were recommended for testing, with 6 qualifying through our testing program. We have 32 students that have qualified. We give the Otis Lennon School Ability Test for students that meet the requirement or have been recommended and meet all of the points to the rubric. We give them the Otis Lennon School Ability Test. That test has increased in price, but we also know it's important to continue identifying those students for our weighted ADM. So again, thank you to Ms. Martini and that committee, and I would recommend approval of our gifted educational plan for 2022-2023.
I'll make a motion that we approve 6.6.
Second.
McDermott?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Slater? Yes. Kane?
Yes.
6.7, discussion with possible board action, vote to approve the following board policy, GKF.
Okay, if you'll open that attachment, we approved GKF in August. This is a policy that's related to Senate Bill 615. State Board of Education last month came in and made emergency rules, which changed this policy. It requires that there be multiple occupancy restroom or changing area designated by a student's sex who refuse to comply with using their same sex or use their sex as identified on their birth certificate. We have to designate multiple occupancy restrooms or changing areas that are for the exclusive use of one sex. And then we need to provide access for someone that refuses to comply with that. And so each administrator has done that. The requirement of this board to adopt this policy, if it's not adopted, results in a 5% state aid penalty. And so we must adopt. So I would make a recommendation that we approve policy GKF.
So moved.
Second. Parker?
Yes.
McDermott?
Yes.
Kane?
Yes.
Slater. Yes.
Are there any items of new business?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Item number 8, proposed executive session to conduct ongoing evaluation of the superintendent per 25 Oklahoma State statute, section 307B1.
So moved.
Vote to convene into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Slater. Yes. Parker.
Yes.
McDermott.
Yes?
Kane.
Yes.